the quietest part of a remote village stood a cluster of mud houses. Their walls were cracked, like the dry bed of a forgotten river. The wind here always sounded tired, carrying the heavy scent of smoke, dust, and unending hunger. This was Kitema village, a place the world had simply forgotten. Here, children seemed to grow up faster than their shadows, and dreams were often left by the roadside to perish. Among the children of Kitema was Amina. She was a thin girl of 16, but her eyes were still bright, holding on to a spark of hope even when life tried its best to wash it away. At her age, she carried the burdens of life that many grown women had not known. Her mother was sick most days. Her father had left to look for work and never returned. Amina was left to do everything: carry water, fetch firewood, cook, clean, and take care of her two younger brothers. Every morning she woke up before the sun. Her bare feet felt the cold floor as she stepped out into the dark, balancing a heavy clay pot on her head for the long walk to the river. Her dress was old, washed so many times it was the color of washed-out memories. Other girls her age were walking to school. Amina only watched them pass, clutching their books, their laughter following them like a happy song. She wished just once to be part of that music, but wishes in Kitema were always too expensive. The elders in the village always said, "A child must simply accept the rood the world has given." And Amina did, until the day that small dusty rood pushed her towards a much bigger one. One Sunday, when her mother was too weak even to rise from her sleeping mat, Amina tied her headscarf, put on the cleanest dress she owned, and walked 5 kilometers to New Dawn Church. The church was placed right on the edge of an upcoming, noisy place called Mawanga Town. The town was dazzling and bright. New buildings, small busy shops, loud motorbikes, and people walking with a sense of purpose. To Amina, Mawanga looked like a place where even the wind carried hope. She sat alone in the back church pew, her hands tightly clasped, praying silently and desperately for her family. That was the moment Madame Zuri noticed her. Madame Zuri was everything Amina was not: well-dressed, confident, and with the calm, settled face of a woman used to comfort. She had a respected husband, 2 lively children, and a home that looked perfect, like a picture. But Zuri also had eyes that saw people deeply. After the church service ended, Zuri walked over to the thin girl. "Child," she said softly, "are you all right?" Amina tried to smile, but her eyes immediately gave away her sadness. Something in that quiet moment deeply touched Madame Zuri's heart. Maybe it was the obvious pain in the girl's face. Maybe it was the thinness of her arms. Maybe it was a spiritual sign, the kind of connection that cannot be explained. Zuri placed a gentle, warm hand on her shoulder. She said, "Come, let me take you home." And just like that, the door of Amina's life swung wide open. She did not know, no one knew, that inside that door lived both incredible kindness and complete chaos. She did not know that the new house she was walking into held deep secrets, silent sufferings, and a marriage that was fighting hard just to stay alive. She did not know that love, trust, and a looming betrayal were waiting gently like shadows right by the doorway. Amina followed Madame Zuri into Mawanga town, her heart beating fast with nervous excitement. She thought she was walking into a miracle. She was actually walking straight into a story no one in Kitema village would ever be allowed to forget.
The drive to Mawanga town felt like a dream to Amina. She sat in the back seat of Madame Zuri's car, her fingers brushing the leather like it was treasure. Outside the window, the world passed quickly. Roads paved with smooth tar, shops painted in bright colors, children eating ice cream, women carrying handbags instead of water pots. Amina pressed her forehead to the glass. Is this still the same world? She wondered. When the car entered Rosewood Estate, Amina's mouth fell open. The road was lined with neat trees. The houses were large, some with gates taller than coconut palms. Dogs with shiny coats walked beside their owners like they knew their way around richness. Zuri smiled when she saw the girl's amazement. "Don't worry," she said softly. "You will get used to it." They stopped in front of a cream house with a red roof. The flowers around the gate seemed to dance in the wind. This was Zuri's home, large, warm, and bright. Amina hesitated at the gate, unsure if her dusty shoes were allowed to step on such clean ground. But Zuri took her hand. "Come in, Amina. You are welcome here." Inside, the house smelt of vanilla and fresh cooking. The floor was cold and shiny. The walls were decorated with family photos, laughing faces, birthday memories, holidays by the lake. Amina looked at the pictures and felt something pinch her heart. So this is what a happy life looks like, she thought. Then two children ran into the living room, Talia, 10, and Baraka, 7. "Mommy, who is this?" Talia asked, peeking at Amina shyly. "This is Amina. She will be helping us at home." The children smiled, and before long they were showing Amina their toys, their rooms, their drawings. Amina, who had never owned even a plastic doll, found herself holding a real toy car that made lights and sounds. Her eyes almost filled with tears. That evening, Zuri served Amina a plate of warm rice, stew, and sweet potatoes. It was more food than she normally ate in 2 days. Amina whispered, "Thank you," her voice trembling. "You don't need to thank me. Just be honest, be hardworking, and feel at home." Those words reached the deepest corner of Amina's heart. She promised herself she would never betray such kindness. Within weeks, Amina became part of the family. She woke early to sweep, mop, and help in the kitchen, but the workload felt lighter than anything she had ever done in her village. Zuri taught her how to use the washing machine, how to fold clothes neatly, how to cook with modern appliances. Amina learned quickly. The children loved her. The neighbors adored her polite nature. And for the first time in her life, people called her name with softness. But not everything was perfect. Sometimes at night, Amina heard muffled arguments from the master bedroom. She would pause, her hand on the wall, listening to the sharp, painful voices. Zuri crying, a man's voice raised, doors shutting hard. Amina did not know who Zuri's husband really was yet, but she knew one thing. This beautiful house had cracks no one could see from outside. One afternoon, as Amina washed dishes, she turned and found Madame Zuri standing behind her, eyes red and swollen. "Are you okay, Madame?" asked Amina. Zuri tried to smile. I'm fine, my dear. Marriage is complicated. Amina nodded, though she did not fully understand. What she did understand was that the woman who had saved her was hurting, and she felt a growing desire to protect Zuri, to be close to her, to be loyal. But loyalty, when mixed with innocence and hunger for belonging, can be dangerous. For in the shadows of that warm home, something else had started to notice Amina too. Zuri's husband